buckle up, book besties, and pull up a drink, pull up a chair, because we are going to go through my May read and my May reading wrap up. I need this energy. It is my last day of my weekend, and then I have to work 3 days, and then I'm driving back to my parents' house, and yeah. It's been pretty hot here. I've been trying to drink like pretty much water and liquid IV only, so like having a soda and sugar was like a shock to my system after not having drank it for like a few days. Wow. My cat has made an appearance today. Say hello, Dinah. She said no. She said, I want to go. Okay, Dinah. Before you ask, yes, my cat is named after Alice's cat in Alice in Wonderland. That is one of my favorite Disney cats, and she definitely has that Dinah curiosity attitude, if you will. Anyways, I read 14 books this month, and a lot of them were like physical / audiobook, like the tandem read type. I've been trying to do that more. I feel like it's really immersive. As someone who has ADHD, it's also like really helpful to stay focused. So I'm gonna talk about the books that I read and what I thought of them, and at the end I'm gonna go over my June hopefuls. It was a pretty heavy virtual / audiobook month, and that audiobook read is the first book that I read this month, which is The Wishing Game by Meg Schaefer. I rated this 5 stars. I absolutely love this. It was an emotional 5-star read for me. If you love Charlie and the Chocolate Factory or Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, you will love this. This is essentially the same thing, but with a famous like children's book author. This was just such a heartwarming and cute story, and I definitely recommend it. The narrator did such a good job, and it was just so cute and so well done. Next up, we have an arc, and the arc that I read is Well Actually by Maisie Eddings. I rated this 4.5 stars, and this is probably one of my favorite second chance romances I've read. It is so good. This book comes out in August, and like please add it to your hopefuls or like your TBR on Goodreads as your want to read, or like whatever you use for that. I just really liked this. Both the FMC Ava and the MMC Riley are so well fleshed out for characters. They're both flawed, but they work together, and it's kind of like, I don't know, I feel like some people don't like flawed characters, or like if they're too flawed, it's a problem. But I think that if they're flawed and they actually like work through their trauma and like it's like fleshed out, it makes the story more realistic. Like you have two perfectly imperfect characters who are still lovable, and it's obvious that they care about each other, but they're like also like one of them is very stubborn about it. You also just want to root for them because they like one of them really wants to do the right thing, and it's definitely like a black cat golden retriever combo, which I love. It's so fun. There are so many parts in this book that I actually like laughed at, and I would love some more like interconnected standalones like from some of the side characters, because it was just so good. And I'm definitely like going to look into reading more of this writer's works, because they just like, I just loved her writing. Next up is something I'm excited to talk about, and I might go a little bit off like the reading order that I read books in, because I started my Zodiac Academy journey. This has been a long time coming. I wanted to start that series for so long, but it's such a long series. Like I looked at people like holding up all the books in the order to read them, and it's like from the floor, like you can't, to like super high, like you can't even hold up barely all the books because there's so many in the Solarian universe. And I read the first 3 Zodiac Academy books, and then I read Dark Fae, and I'm currently on Savage Fae right now as we speak. I may finish this by the end of the month. It's like May 27th as I'm filming this, so we still have a few more days, but I have to work the next few days, so I don't have like that interrupted reading time that I could during the weekend. I kind of have to just scavenge for time. I rated the first book, The Awakening, 4.5 stars. Another thing that really scared me about the series is people either love it or they hate it. There is really no in between. And I could see the criticisms for it. However, I think that it is definitely cheesy, but cheesy in the way that like a CW drama like Riverdale, or even, I don't know, like ABC's Pretty Little Liars would be, like that type of cheesy, and I am here for it. It is also like super dramatic, and like people say that the world building is really complicated. I kind of disagree, because in the like at least in the first 3 Zodiac Academy books, you're learning about the world with the girls. So it's like a slow release of world building information, which I really like. And clearly there's a lot going on in Solaria, Solaria? I don't know how to pronounce it, that's fine. Don't hate me. But all I can tell you is that I am addicted to this Zodiac Academy series. It is so good. This has like derailed my like reading and like hopeful, my TBRs like all month. And to be fair, I did say that in my last video that like if I just, you know, pushed aside my whole hopefuls TBR for Zodiac Academy, I would understand. However, I don't like doing that because I have like literally so many books that I need to read that I have physically that I haven't read. And I have so many books on my like Kindle TBR and like my Kindle Unlimited that I would like to return at some point. So like I just have literally way too many books that I want to read. Like it's so many. That's also why it was kind of hard for me to get into this, but it's fine. I'm not mad about it at all. I'm literally having the time of my life reading the series. Additionally, I don't know, maybe I should make a whole other video about Zodiac Academy, because this is turning into a lot of talking about Zodiac Academy, because I have a lot of thoughts, because that is just my mind right now. Like my mind is just all Zodiac Academy. The second book, Ruthless Fae, I rated 5 stars because that ending was insane. And there were like other things that I really love that happened in that book. But yes, it was just, this second book I felt like was so good. And the third book, The Reckoning, I also rated 5 stars because again, these books are really fast paced and the ending left me on the floor. And this is the part where you're supposed to stop and start reading the Ruthless Boys series. It's like a separate series, but you have to read it because there are characters that are introduced later on. If you read the series, you get more info and stuff, so that's what I'm doing. I'm trying to power through this series. I didn't want to stop though, but I did, and I did read Dark Fae, which I just finished last night, and I rated this 4.5 stars. The reason why I rated it 4.5 stars is because there was something at the ending that I really didn't like, and it felt kind of like it just kind of felt like out of place, and it didn't 100% make sense, and like I could have missed something, but it just like wasn't as clear as the other like parts of the book were. So I feel like it was just maybe thrown in there, but I mean it wasn't thrown in there, but it wasn't, I don't know. Anyways, I still really liked the book. I just like at the end was not happy about the ending. But again, I'm starting the next book, Savage Fae, like today, probably after I finish filming this video and put away my laundry. But you know, I just need to like power through this to get back to Zodiac. So yes, I did read those 4 books by the Twisted Sisters, and I cannot wait to like continue with that journey. I will like talk about that in a little bit, because best believe that those books like dominate my hopefuls list. Next up, I listened to an audiobook, and it was The Teacher by Frida McFadden. I rated this 3 stars because it was good. It was okay. And then the ending, just, I was not a fan of the ending. Like it was a little cliche at times, and it was fun to listen to for sure, but would I consider this like a great mystery thriller? No. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people like Frida, but The Teacher was just okay. The next book is also a Frida McFadden book, and it is Never Lie. I rated this 3.75 stars because I really liked this, and there were like a lot of things that like did surprise and shock me and twist me in the end. I was waiting for one thing to happen because I know, listen, I know that with mysteries and thrillers, they're written in a way to like make you suspect things. However, the way that this one character was written, I was for sure thinking he was going to be like this one person that was mentioned. And when he wasn't that one person that he mentioned, I'm like, all of these clues feel like for naught. But there was a lot that did shock me. I definitely liked this more than The Teacher. But was it my favorite Frida book? I don't know. I'm still trying to get through her books. I really like listening to mysteries and thrillers on audiobook. So I have like a bunch of holds for her books at the library. There's like so many people ahead of me in line though. So hopefully I'll be reading some more of her books or listening / reading to some of her books soon. The next book that I read / listened to was Happy Place by Emily Henry. I rated this 4.75 stars and I loved this. I feel like this book sometimes gets hate. I don't understand. I absolutely love this. There's one thing that I kind of disagreed with at the very end. That is why I knocked it down a few points, but like this stuck with me and was so good. I love the characters. It is, again, a second chance romance. I've read a lot of second chance romances this year or this month. Not mad about it. Is second chance romance my favorite trope? No, but if it is done correctly, it is. And with Well Actually and this book, Happy Place, I feel like it is done correctly. But this book like broke my heart in pieces and put it back together. I don't want to give an official ranking until I've read all her books, but I feel like I'm going to love book lovers, so like that's why I'm holding off on saying that. But I love Emily Henry's books. She's one of my favorite like auto-buy, top tier, god tier romance authors. Next up, we have my greatest disappointment of the month, which is Leather and Lark by Brynne Weaver. And I hate to say this because I was looking so forward to this and I loved Butcher and Blackbird. Like that is one of my favorite dark contemporary romances that I have read to this date. So I was hoping for like a similar vibe and this just was not it. I do have Scythe and Sparrow and I'm like debating on whether or not I want to read it at this point, but I just didn't like this at all. It was like 80% insta-lust / simp behavior. There was no point in this book whatsoever where I was like, oh, like they are both falling in love with each other. They might have both lusted after each other and there was like a moment with like protection where she like started trusting him, but I wouldn't say that she was in love with him. That's just me. I also felt like there was definitely something wrong with the FMC because, hear me out, like if you're gonna be a serial, you know, unaliver or multiple deleter, as the character says, and calls herself, then, you know, obviously, yeah, there's something wrong with you. But with that being said, she was just very childish about all of it. And like, at least in the first book with the FMC Sloan, she had like a reason to do it. Like it was more like a quest for vengeance. Hers is kind of a quest for vengeance, but like I didn't connect the way that I did with the other book. I just didn't like it. And I'm really sorry, but that's just my thoughts on this book. Next up, we have Funny Story, again by Emily Henry. I rated this 4.5 stars. Was this my favorite Emily Henry book? No, but I still really enjoyed it. I just feel like at times I was annoyed by the male main character. And I think like, here's the thing. He was definitely written by a woman because some of the things that came out of this guy's mouth, like you get into the trauma and then you start understanding, but like, let's be real. If this guy were like truly like a guy in this world, he would be like so much worse because he like straight up makes comments like, oh, he doesn't do exclusive and that his ex was like the exception to the rule. And like, I feel like when guys say that, like, what do you mean you don't want to be exclusive but you want to date girls or date women. Anyways, that is completely a personal bias, and I do think that if this wasn't a man who was written by Emily Henry and a man in the real world, he would have just been a piece of garbage. And so that's why I kind of just was like, okay, because I was trying so hard to like buy in to the fact that he was this great good guy. And like, he was a great good guy in the end, but like, do I fully believe? I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense. Unfortunately, I feel like this just kind of triggered something with me with the MMC. And while, again, I did end up loving the book, I just, like, it took me a minute to get over how I felt, if that makes sense. I do feel like this would have been a 4-star read. However, there was something that the FMC said. It was like a whole speech at the end of the book, and it really just struck a nerve with me because that's exactly how I feel. And it was like she pulled the words and feelings out of my heart and head, which, like, obviously it made me, you know, it made me cry. I'm glad that I stuck around and I read this and that I like ended up changing my mind. I just still don't think this is my favorite book, but I still did have a fun time. The next book that I'm going to talk about is one of my most anticipated reads from last month, and it was like a carryover from the previous month, and that is Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I rated this 4 stars. I thought it was so fun. But I will say this is some very heavy and intense world building, and it took me ages to get through like the first like 3/4 of this book. It was so much because I would have to keep going back and like referencing things, and there was just so many like nitty-gritty details about like just the magic system and like the order and everything that I was just kind of confused. And I was like, is this a thing that I'm just going to have to like keep reading and eventually I'll get it? Because you know how that is with some fantasy books. They don't make sense, but like you just have to keep reading. But I didn't find that to 100% be the case. Like I just kept reading it and I was still confused at certain points, and I'm just like, am I stupid? Maybe, but I really did love this. The last 150 pages were insane, and I just didn't want to put the book down at that point, and I just really would like to continue the series because I really enjoyed this. There was also just such good social commentary in this book, and I think everyone should read this. The next book that I read is another arc, and it is The South Wind by Alexandra Warwick. I gave this 3 stars. It was just another book that I read, and it is a Sleeping Beauty retelling mixed with like the tale of the Minotaur in like Greek mythology. And I'm not 100% sure that both of those tales 100% worked together. And the FMC Sarai really upset me. I'm gonna be transparent here. There were several times where I did want to DNF, but I really want to read The North Wind, which is the first book in the series, and I knew that if I DNF'd this, then I would probably never go back to reading that. So I did stick through, and I'm really glad that I did stick through. Part 2 was so much marginally better than part 1, so I'm glad I stuck around and we get more of the Minotaur and Sleeping Beauty in that part. But the first part of the book was so annoying because the MMC was trying to, again, this is another second chance romance, but the MMC was trying to apologize to the FMC for something that had happened, and the FMC just was giving him a hard time, wasn't letting him have it, and it was just too push me pull me because like we get her point of view, we could hear her thoughts where she would want to forgive him and then she would just not. Also, this book was like super insta lusty. There was a spicy part where they were doing spicy things in a place that they shouldn't have been doing spicy things, and it was like the author was like, wait, pause, let me just like remove this danger here so that they can do these things, and then like when they're done, like bring the danger back. The last book on this list that I read other than Dark Fae is another arc, which is Thorn Season by Kiera Azar, and let me just tell you, this was a 5-star read for me. I didn't know what I was like going into when I read this book. I'm so glad that I didn't, because wow, I was like mind blown. I don't want to say maybe not mind blown, but I was like shocked in the best way possible. The writing was so good and I just loved this book. It releases in September, so like we have quite a lot of time before it comes out, but please add this to your hopefuls or like your want to read lists again, because it was just so good. I know I keep saying that, but like it is kind of hard to keep my thoughts like spoiler free and cohesive as I talk about this, just because there was just like so much, but I'm just gonna go ahead and read what I wrote on Goodreads. 5 stars. Wow, I am stunned. I came into this book not really knowing what to expect, and any type of expectation I could have had immediately was exceeded because I loved this. This may quite well be one of my top reads of the year. I'm going to try and keep my thoughts cohesive and as spoiler free as possible, but it may be hard because my brain is just... First and foremost, this book is so twisty. There's a central mystery and you're fed information a little bit at a time in a slow release. And when you finally get to the big picture, there's so much going on and it all clicks into place so beautifully, and you realize it was all laid out in front of you the whole time. Everyone is guilty or a part of some scheme or plot, and the political intrigue and scheming from everyone alone kept me so invested. I simply couldn't put this down. I definitely thought things would go a certain way, and when they didn't, I was on the edge of my seat. I also love the FMC Melissa. She's definitely what I would consider morally gray in the best way possible, and in the way which you want to root for her and succeed. There was also some cat and mouse going on, which is one of my favorite tropes. So if you love that, you'll love this. I loved her banter with one of the male characters, and said male character may be a new book boyfriend. I need the next book immediately, and I need more from them, which is true. So yeah, those were all the books that I read in May. There are still a few more days left. I think I'm just going to try and focus on reading more of the Zodiac books. I did have a lot of books that I didn't get to on that list slash my hopefuls and stuff like that, but they're just gonna continue and carry on over to the next month. Next up, we're gonna talk about my hopefuls list. This is heavy, but look at the sprayed edges on this stack. Amazing. I love it. The past few months, like really this whole year, I've been giving myself really large reading lists. So I tried this month to keep it on the shorter end because I know that I really just want to read more of Zodiac Academy. So with that being said, I have a lot of releases that I was really looking forward to that I didn't get to in May. So these are like my priorities for the most part. The first of which is A Curse Carved in Bone by Danielle L. Jensen. I actually went to her signing in Huntington Beach for this. A Fate Inked in Blood was one of my favorite books last year that I read. So I really have been looking forward and anticipating this book. So I know why I didn't read this immediately? No, I don't. I just have had so many books on my list. The next book that is very highly anticipated for me is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. One of my favorite authors after her Shepherd's King duology absolutely rocked my world last year. And I hear that this is just as amazing. I can't wait to read it. Also, I do hear that it ends on like a cliffhanger. Or like the end, like you're gonna want the next book immediately. So is it gonna suck to read this immediately and have to wait that long? Yes, but I'll do it. I just don't want books that I'm really anticipating to get spoiled for me, and that is one I'm afraid is going to get spoiled for me if I wait too long. We also have another highly talked about book, and that is Shield of Sparrows by Devney Perry. This book is stunning. Like these edges, this design, the in paper art, like hello? I got this from the In Bloom Bookery in Temecula, and it was signed as well. So that's always exciting. This book was kind of a pricey hardcover, and like part of me was debating to read it on Kindle Unlimited because I do have a KU subscription and this is on KU, but I really just wanted this book because it's so pretty. But like, I need to start reading more books that are on Kindle Unlimited, truly. Like rather than just physically buying them. The last books that I have, I don't actually physically have on me. And the first is Silver Elite by the infamous Danny Francis. I got that from Book of the Month. I also have Problematic Summer Romance by Ali Hazelwood, and as you know, I love Ali Hazelwood. This is a follow-up to Not in Love that she released, I believe it was last year, and I just, you know, I'm excited for anything that Ali Hazelwood puts out. So I just haven't had a chance to pick it up. And then the last book, which I will be reading on my Kindle through Kindle Unlimited, more from Ruthless Boys of the Zodiac, which is the, I don't want to say interconnected series, but it is like the series that you read like interconnectedly during Zodiac Academy. I am currently on Savage Fae, which is the second book, and I'm hoping to finish all the Ruthless Boys books. We'll see. They're kind of really thick books, but I'm like going through them super fast, especially on Kindle, because I read faster on the Kindle. But yeah, it only said it was going to take me like 6.5 hours to finish the second book. So we'll see if like that luck, you know, continues. Anyways, like my goal realistically again is to finish all the Ruthless Boys books. I also do have a few books on my contingency list. And I also have a few arcs that I would like to read, like to, you know, chip away at that. The first book on that contingency list is Blood Marked, which is the second book in the Legendborn cycle, which there are 3 books out currently, and I do have all 3 of them. So I would like to try and read this if I can. This next book is like a maybe. Technically I have all summer to read it, and it is Summer in the City. I just want to read it during summer. So like if I don't get to it in June, then I could definitely read it in July or August. So yes, but like it's so cute and aesthetic, and like I love the sprayed edges on this. I know that there's another version like with the taxi. I think that that's the Barnes & Noble exclusive, and that's also really cute, but I just like this, and it's also like a quick read. So like, I don't know, just something maybe like to palate cleanse all these fantasy books. It's always good to have something. The last book I am like heavily debating on, and I probably will read this only because I have like the audio book or the graphic audiobook versions, excuse me, of this, and it is ACOTAR. I've been wanting to reread these and just like do a reread with like actually like listening to the audiobook forever. I don't know if I'm going to be able to like listen to the audiobook / read it at the same time, because I'll probably just listen to the audiobooks while I'm at work, but I would like to do that, like to have like that full immersive ACOTAR reread, because I do have for the graphic audio the first like part 1 of the ACOTAR. I don't have part 2. It's kind of diabolical that they're put in 2 different parts. And then on my like library holds, I have A Court of Mist and Fury part 1 and 2 for that. So like I definitely need to try and read through all of these. So I don't know. I might end up just biting the bullet and getting ACOTAR part 2. It's like 18 bucks. I understand that audiobooks are hard to produce, but like they are so expensive to buy. And like the Audible credits don't even help, because it's like what, you get 1 credit a month, and like it's in like 2 or 3 parts. A Court of Wings and Ruin is in like 3 parts. So like that's just, I don't know, that would take almost a whole year to read that whole series. I'm just so glad that I was able to get a library card virtually, because your girl needed it, obviously, for all these audiobooks. That's like one of the main reasons I haven't done a whole lot of audiobooks, because I just don't want to spend like a ton of money. And like I have gotten lucky where if you buy the like Kindle book, then you can get the audio book at like a discount. That's what I did for Throne of Glass. Even though I did already have like the bundle of the Throne of Glass books, I just bought them all individually again so that I could get a discount on the audiobooks. But I don't know, it was worth it. I love the audiobooks for Throne of Glass. I still do have like all my books previously from the months that I haven't read on this list as well. Like I didn't get to read Enchantra, which I really wanted to, but or the Tower of Avalon. I also do have 5 arcs on this list from NetGalley, and I'm not going to talk about them in case I can't read them, because then it will make me feel extra guilty. But I will say, just a teaser, one of the books that I want to read is a second book in a series that I didn't realize was the second book in the series, but I have to read the first book. And the first book I am going to put on my like contingency hopefuls because the book releases in August. So I don't technically have to read it this month, but like I would like to try and read it before it's released. And that is The Blonde Identity by Ali Carter. The book that I have is The Blonde That Comes In From the Cold. I loved her series when I was younger. The Spy series, I forget what it's called. I've been wanting to do like a YA renaissance, and that is like one of the books that I want to read, or like one of the series. The book is called I Tell You That I Love You But Then I'd Have to Kill You. That's that whole series. It's like the Spy Academy. I love that. I ate that up. I read like the first 3 books, and there was like more, and then I just never read them, and I don't know why I didn't read them, but it's fine. I was in like middle school going into high school, like around that era, so I had like other things that I had to read for school. But yeah, I've been wanting to really have a renaissance of books that I read when I was younger, and I keep saying that, and I just haven't gotten to it because I have like so many books on my hopefuls list and like on my bookshelves that I haven't read. So like it kind of sucks sometimes to go back and like reread things, but I am one of the type of people who loves to reread books that I loved. So we'll see. Like I definitely would love to reread the Click books, the Gossip Girl books, and like the It Girl. I would like to reread Twilight at some point, and like the series about the spies. It's fine. Someday maybe I'll have time to read that. Oh, Pretty Little Liars. There's just so many books in so little time. Anyways, how was your reading month, and what is on your hopefuls list? Let me know down in the comments. I hope you have a good day or night or whenever you're watching this, and I will see you next time. Bye, friends!